Oh yes, that's the song that sets the tone for the program, the kind of change we want to see, the betterment we want to see in Nigeria, which is the mantra of this administration, by the way. They campaign intensely on the change mantra, promising that it was going to be different, it was going to be better. And that's the whole idea of this program, really. This program brought to you by Center for Democracy and Development with some support from Osiwa, Buharimeter that is, just to remind us of all of the fancy promises and commitments made by this administration, covenants made to the people to ensure that they get a better Nigeria, to see about change. Well, this program aims to tell all of these promises and to see the level of implementation, how the government is delivering on it, and areas where people can remind them of the need to live up to their promises. And so today we'll look at one of such promise. I have with me Razak. Razak, you're welcome.
Yeah, good evening Abuja, good evening Kimberly. It's good to be here again on Buharimeter Radio. And I'm looking forward to this particular one. I think all of Nigerians, probably all of Nigeria, should be looking forward to this one because it's promised to be a very exciting one. We were having discussions outside there, and it was already bubbling.
Oh, really?
Really.
Good to know. No, anytime we focus on social intervention program of the administration, a lot of people get very involved and just keen to hear the level in which the government has applied itself in terms of the promises made to the people. And so that's what we'll be doing on the show today. We'll be looking at areas where the government has made some pledge, some commitment to see about improving the welfare of women, of traders, of Nigerians generally. Recall some time back, I think it was with Shamsuddin, when we were talking about some monies to be repatriated, part of the Abacha lead from the US. The government already said they were going to channel it into social intervention projects. And we're seeing them even talking with other bodies to say, hey, channel money into empowering certain people under our social intervention program. So this falls under it.
Yeah, I think this falls right under it. That's the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program. That's the GEEP program, also known as the Market Monies Program, where the government earmarked about 140 million naira for market women in Nigeria, for the unbanked and the underbanked. That's the phrase that they use. And we have with us here somebody, who is the Public Relations Officer for the National Association of Nigerian Traders, in the person of Zainab Mohammed, to help us shed light on how far this particular social intervention project has gone since its inception.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so for those who are not aware, we talk about the GEEP, which is popularly called the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program.
Yes.
And want to see government promised sometime last year that they've set aside 1.6 billion naira for Women Empowerment Program. And we would love to know what is really going on. Bring us up to speed in terms of commitment of the government to meeting up to their promise.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. First of all, I'd like to say that the GEEP program is a laudable initiative from the present government. We were so very excited when we heard about it that finally and eventually the government of the day has decided to recognize women traders, especially by bringing up the GEEP loan in collaboration with BOI. And we all went, traders, we came up wanting to find out information, asking questions on exactly, how to go about it. And of course, the process started. For the National Association of Nigerian Traders, we started the process sometime in February 2017. And it's been quite rigorous. It's been quite rigorous. But we scaled some hurdles, eventually, gradually, after having to go back and forth so many times with BOI and the commercial banks. And some people have been credited, have been beneficiaries of the scheme, but very little.
Before we forge ahead, I need to take us back one step for the benefit of those who have very little idea of what the idea of GEEP really is about. Can you help educate us on that?
Okay,
what it aims to achieve.
Exactly. What the project or the program aimed to achieve was financial inclusion for the grassroots women traders.
Okay.
Which means women that trade in areas where they probably don't have banks or other financial institutions to bring them up to speed with maybe their counterparts in the city area somewhat, and then also to empower them, to give them some kind of a source of livelihood, to make them independent. So that was the aim of the program, but far from achieving that.
Why is it far from achieving that? Because you said that some people have been beneficiaries of this, and since it's a laudable project, why is it far from achieving that?
Very lovely on paper, but practical implementation zero. Because as far as I'm concerned, a lot of background checks or homework or whatever was not done before, we went, or the government decided to go into it, or maybe the partnering agency that was asked to disburse the money did not do some kind of research or a background check or find out how they could actually reach out to the targeted audience. So maybe that was why.
To be clear, the partnering agency, that's the Bank of Industry. Okay, all right.
That's the Bank of Industry. Now, in February, when some commercial banks approached my association, as I said, we were very excited about it. We listened to what they had to say, and we decided to work with two banks, as at that time. And for FCT alone, I had over 1,000 applications. 750, 350, yes, because we split it amongst the two banks. So I think I had 1,100 applications for the FCT alone, Nance women traders, and we started the process. The two banks trained the women, gave us information, what the process was supposed to be, the aim and objective, what the process, the end results of the loans, why they should collect the loans, why they shouldn't take the loans, how to pay back, all of that. We went through, all of that information from the bank. Now, after doing that, of course, all the women came with all their documentation and all of that. But the banks also were not on the same page. One bank is opening savings account. The other is opening current account, tier 1 and then tier 3. So the requirements for bank opening processes, that one was a knockout. If you're looking at women in the rural area, where do they get light bills from? Because what they do, I know. What I know they do is that maybe every month they pay 2,000 or 3,000. So they need to prove where they stay, their addresses or whatever. And then most difficult of it all, BVA. Where do they get it from? How do they get it?
Particularly if they have no single bank account before now.
Some of them have never even heard of bank.
Yes, that's why I said for the unbanked and the underbanked.
Some of them have never even heard of banks. And even if they've heard of banks, the closest bank to them is probably hundreds of kilometers, away. But some of them were ready to go the extra mile. And at the beginning of the whole program, we were told that the monies that were going to be given out to each trader was 100,000. It was going to be 100,000. Now, for the National Association of Nigerian Traders, the first set of beneficiaries, when we started the process in February, the first set of beneficiaries were in August, and they got 50,000.
August of 2017.
Of 2017, and they got 50,000. And then we asked, why 50,000? And the response we got was that they had to cut them down. They had to cut the money down to be able to reach a wider audience. Okay, that's all right, fine. But, why? How did you come about that? Didn't you know how much you had or how many people you were targeting to have said you were going to do 100,000, at the beginning, and then you ended up, giving out the 50,000? Fine, but in the process between that February and August, out of the 1,000 applications that I had from the beginning, it dropped drastically. People lost interest. After the first beneficiaries got credited, a lot of people now decided that they were not interested. It wasn't even worth the trouble. Now, the application process is another thing entirely. At the beginning, a form was given to us that each prospective beneficiary was to fill 4 copies of that form. One should go to the association. Well, I think 3 copies. One should go to the association, one should go to the commercial bank, and one should go to BOI. Apart from your account,
Yeah.
opening package. So each beneficiary was supposed to give us, I think 3 or 4, was supposed to submit about 3 or 4 passport photographs. That was one cost. Now, when you come to the account opening process, you have to bring proof of maybe where you do your business or where you live, which meant a utility bill. And then they said we needed to bring ID card, some kind of ID cards. So people were bringing driver's license and other types of ID cards. And then we scaled, that process.
Yeah.
And then we had agents that we had to deal with. Agents and aggregators, as they were called. They came up, they are the market money agents. They are the ones that will disburse the money to the individuals. They are the ones that will go back to each of the markets and collect the monies from the individuals. After a while, it was a case of, you know what, you don't have to work with particular banks. You can work with any bank, which, was okay. You could work with any bank. So I didn't have to go and open a special GEEP account.
Okay.
So I could bring any bank account, that I had, which was fine, was okay. And then the agents were no more needed, according to BOI. We don't need the agents anymore. Let's work directly with your association. It's a credible, reputable association, so we work directly with your association. Now, we don't even want any other ID cards anymore. We want only association ID cards. Yes. We scaled, that hurdle. And bear in mind that as we were scaling each hurdle, the numbers were reducing because people were beginning to lose interest. It was taking too much of their time. It was, and then eventually, at the end of the day, a data sheet, came up that we needed to fill in. First name, last name, middle name, date of birth, shop address, house address, local government of shop, local government of house, account, BVN. That was how the data sheet came. And you needed to fill all of that, before you get. Now, the people you are dealing with are traders. They are market women. Some of them don't have correct documentation, let's put it that way. Somebody's name on her bank account is Zainab Mohammed. Along the line, she got married. And she's now Zainab Mohammed something. So definitely there's a disconnect. Yeah. But because of their level of education, they don't understand. They don't understand that, there's that disconnect. Yeah. Another group of people have dropped out. Okay, you have to do change of name. You have to do change of name. I'll go and spend 5,000 naira again to do change of name, to collect 50,000. I no want. May they hold their money. So those ones have gone off. Now, for the few that eventually made it to the finishing line, for FCT now, let me use FCT as a case study. Bear in mind that we're talking about the whole country, which I single-handedly collate for the National Association of Nigerian Traders. At the end of the day, for FCT, I submitted 191 names. And as I speak to you today, only 27 people have been credited.
With 50,000, which is half the amount.
With 50,000. Now, the good part of the thing is that those that have been credited appreciate the money. Which is what is keeping somebody like me or the association still interested in. Which means that, and these are people in the rural area, whom you would have thought 50,000 wouldn't mean much to. So you can imagine going to these are people in the urban areas. So you can imagine going to the rural area and giving them 50,000 or maybe even 30,000. It would go a long way in, making them, happy. Now, we've gone back and forth with BOI on a lot of issues. Disbursement, we've decided that as an association that we want to work with fewer banks for the sake of monitoring and evaluating. If we work with too many banks, we cannot follow up.
We're able to lose track, yeah.
Exactly. Who has been credited, who is paying back, and who is not paying back. But now,
can I just say this? From what I've read, it was supposed to be with Sterling Bank. The program was initially,
we are not working at all with Sterling Bank.
Sterling Bank partnered at some point.
Yes, I know some people are working with Sterling Bank. Some associations are working with Sky Bank, but we are working with Fidelity and Access.
Okay.
I must say here that along the line, we dropped Access Bank because they were not fast. They were not working the way we wanted to work. Fidelity was fine with us, and it was okay because at any point in time when people get credited, Fidelity Bank, the 27 people that I'm talking about now all got credited via, Fidelity Bank, and they were able to come back and say, this is the list of those that have been credited. And then you are credited, you have 2 weeks grace before you start paying back. Some people have not been credited at all, but they're getting messages to pay back. Some people have been credited, have started paying back, but are getting messages that they are owing. Some have paid in advance. Maybe you've paid for 15 weeks, and maybe this is just the 12th week, and they're telling you to pay back unless your BVN would be, will be blocked or will be highlighted or something. Now we've gone back and forth with BOI for as far as monitoring is concerned.
Before we go with the BOI, people need to understand this return plan, because a lot of people, I remember when this story hit the first time, some Nigerians were talking about it being like cash handed out to people to start up their business. It didn't seem like it was a loan to be paid back over a period of time. It's not really...
It's a loan.
It's a loan.
It's a loan to be paid back within 6 months. From the time you collect the loan to when you start paying back, you have 2 weeks grace. From the 3rd week, you start to pay back. So you have 50,000, you're credited with 50,000. Every week you're supposed to pay back 2,187 naira 50 kobo.
Okay.
Now, financial inclusion, what it means to me as a trader is for me to be able to exercise my rights as per using banks, all financial institutions available. Which also meant to me, or means to me, that if I'm being credited via maybe Sterling Bank, I should be able to save my daily sales in my Sterling Bank account. And then maybe BOI should find a way of pulling the money out of my Sterling Bank account. That's not the case.
So how did they go about it?
Repayment, you have to pay back to a particular BOI First Bank account. So whether you receive the money from Fidelity, from Access, from Sterling, from Sky, when the time of the week comes, you have to now take that money and go physically to First Bank. Now, if I'm receiving money from this bank, I collect my 50,000. What do I want to go back and do there? Nothing. Because as it is already, as a trader in the rural area, I have no business with bank. I tie my money at the edge of my wrapper and I go to sleep. So where is financial inclusion? You cannot do a transfer into that account. You have to physically go to the bank. And the way BOI wants us to monitor returns on the repayment is to physically show them tellers
that you've paid,
that these people have paid.
What kind of archaic method is being employed in actually doing this? Because I don't get it.
Oh, it's okay if that's the way they want it, if it will make it easy for them, because we've been made to understand that it's kind of a learning process for them. They try this, it doesn't work, so they try something else. Okay. That's okay. But for us, the point here is that there's a 5% surcharge, administrative charges. So after you, at the end of paying your 50,000, you're going to be paying 2,000 naira, 2,500 extra, which still goes to BOI or their market money agents. Now, if as an association, the traders or the market leaders are the ones monitoring the members of their markets, making sure they pay back and collecting their tellers and keeping as proof that this person has paid back his loan, why can't they be incorporated as market money agents and also be making some money? Because
and they will even be more effective.
Exactly.
Since they know these people.
Exactly. So, and as it is now, nobody is willing to do that for nothing, because they already know that 5% surcharge is there. So who is the person that's collecting this 5%? We are not working with agents. They want me to collect the teller from my market women, which my market coordinators are doing. The market coordinators within NANS are doing that. Once their members pay at the end of the week, they collect a copy of their teller and they keep for the association's records, because we've made it clear to them that within your market, if you have any defaulters, you are going to be held responsible. But as it is now, they are not ready to even give me those tellers for record purposes, unless BOI is ready to share that 5% surcharge with them.
I already see a lot of problems
as market money agents
with this setup. You did start by saying it was a brilliant initiative, but in recounting all of this and just walking us through how it works, There are so many faults.
It's fraught with challenges.
Yeah, that at one point you wonder if people truly appreciate the GEEP itself and looking at what. Because first, if you say 100K, I understand. I don't want to be disconnected from the reality that 50K can go a long way for some people, but it will never take you above a certain poverty circle. 100,000, yes, reasonable. And then, did you try to investigate why and what happens to the half of the money? Because forgive me for saying this is Nigeria. And anything can happen. One administration leaves, the next thing you hear GEEP money siphoned because they don't give you substantial stories as to why. The government says 100,000, 1.6 billion was set aside. And then you can't give people full amount, and there is no substantial, tangible story to substantiate, why they're not doing that.
We should first of all ask, did the government give them the 1.6 billion?
That's what I was going to say. That
so they didn't get all of it.
They didn't.
Because some quarters say 140 million, some say 1.6 billion.
It's 140 billion.
140 billion.
140 billion. And they didn't get it.
Wow.
They didn't get how much did they get?
They've gotten the money in pieces. You see, BOI will not come out authoritatively and tell us that. They don't want to lose their jobs now. But we had a meeting where one of them actually did say that, I called it the true confession, that they did not get the 160 billion. They've been getting the money in trickles. And as such, they have to deal with it, with applicants or beneficiaries in trickles.
Yeah.
As they come, whoever is next, they credit, they credit you. Now, as of today, what we are having to deal with now is that they've come up with 11 priority states.
Okay, we'll hold you on that 11 priority state because I'm sure it will get very interesting. Let's go for the news quickly. The news at the top of the hour with Imo, and then we'll continue with Buharimeter. You can join the conversation, remember. You can tweet at Nigeria Info ABJ. You can send via WhatsApp to 0809 9930 137. Thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just joining the show, Buharimeter, we're looking at the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, GEEP, one of the social intervention programs of this administration, which is executed through the Bank of Industry. Yeah? Yes. And through GEEPs, something we missed that I'm seeing here, market money product. Is that it?
Market money,
yeah.
Yes.
The government is promoting financial inclusion, access to credit for about 1.6 million market traders, cooperative, artisans, farmers, and the likes. And they should get up to 100,000. But from our guest, Zainab Ahmed, who is the PR of the National Association of Nigerian Traders, you're not aware of anyone getting 100. So far is 50,000 naira maximum, and fraught with all kinds of challenges in the process of getting it. And so some people now have their doubts about the entire process because of the difficulties involved. Now, you did talk about the strategy employed now to work with 11 states. Okay,
yes.
Tell us more about that.
As I said earlier on, we started the process in February.
Okay.
And then by, I think, July or thereabouts, of course, we realized that issues were just abound. But we've had access to BOI. They've been quite available. I must give it to them.
Okay.
The National Association of Nigerian Traders, we've gone back and forth many times with BOI, meetings at our office, over the phone,
okay,
like that. But the implementation, still just,
very poor.
In fact, it got to a point where we also had to work with the Office of the Vice President, the delivery unit, Presidential Delivery Unit, and we've gone back and forth, giving BOI suggestions on the way forward, to how these monies can be effectively credited to those that actually do need it, and then ensuring that they pay back as at when due, as with as little stress as possible. Because some people have told us that they have to spend maybe 700 naira to go and pay back 2,000 naira. I mean, really. And it has to be done every week. You can't decide that, okay, maybe
file
this
it
week,
for 1 month.
If not, you start getting messages telling you you've done this, you've done that. In Delta State, at the end of the process, 3 of my women there were credited and they refused to take the money.
Really?
Yes. They were credited with that 50,000 naira. We collected the money and paid it back into BOI account like
Wow.
that.
Take your money back.
Yes.
It wasn't worth the
It wasn't
stress.
worth the stress.
Okay.
But
you did say something initially about the 10-0-10.
Yes, we had, at the beginning of the process, because we sat down as an organization and we're thinking of the best way to ensure that we have at least 99.9% repayment.
Mm-hmm.
Because BOI gave us an MOU to sign. The national president of the association has signed. The women leader, the national women leader, signed. So at the end of the day, if we have defaulters within the National Association of Nigerian Traders, they will be held responsible. So we had to sit down and devise a means on the best way forward. And this was before we started getting credited, and before we even met, BOI as a group or as an organization or whatever. So we decided that, okay, let's group the women into 10s. 10, no 10.
Okay.
Which is the normal thing that the grassroots traders do. When they are doing their kind of asusu or contributions or whatever. 10, no 10. One person is going to lead that 10. Now, if in a market, let's say, for example, you have 50 beneficiaries, that means you're going to have 5 groups of 10. So each person in each leader of the 5 groups will report to the coordinator of that market, just to make sure that there's close monitoring. A situation whereby maybe somebody has traveled, because we've in the course of compilation, some market coordinators come back and say, look, Zena, please, let's remove this woman. She passed a comment, or somebody said she said, is it not government money? Does she need to pay back? We take them out because we made them understand that you will be held responsible. Now 10 no 10 would have been easy peasy. Even if they had to do it the manual way, where the market money agents will come to collect the money. That leader of that 10 is the person you are going to liaise with. Or we can use her. She can be the market money agent. She will collect, because she's with them. If they are not living together, they are trading together.
It saves time, money,
exactly.
and everything.
Everybody
so
can
BOI, we've asked you,
it.
use these women as your market money agent. You can't bring in a stranger to come and collect monies from us. Number one, the women will not trust such a person with their money. If he's bringing the money they will collect, it's when they are giving him the money that will be a challenge. Yes, because you don't know if he's going to take the money where he's supposed to. And then when you now start having defaulters, this agent that's coming from outside, how many shops does he want to go to? How does he want to locate the shops? Which easier way than to have those that are in that community, do the job? But of course, at the end of the day, if you submit the names of 50 people in one market and then they credit maybe 1 or 2 or 5 of them, your 10 no 10 whatever, exactly, aim has been defeated, which is exactly what has happened. Within the FCT, I think we must have like minimum of 10 markets that have put in for this. And I don't think more than maybe 3 or 4 markets have benefited. They make up that 27.
Well, how long is this supposed to run for, this program?
They didn't
till
tell
the
us
end of this administration.
I think it's supposed to be, because they didn't tell us the start and finish. I don't know what the start and finish is. And we started in February 2017, but I think it started even before then. I think in 2016, but it only got to our ears in 2017.
Okay, I'm just thinking out for those who are still waiting in line, hoping that it will get to their turn.
People are still waiting. This morning, I got a call from Edo State. I think, yes. The coordinator there. And she's telling me that, what are we going to do? How are we going to go about this border? And I just ran her through. Now, our association, we've gotten a better understanding of the process, which I had also said to BOI that you should have told me this from the beginning instead of stressing me. At some point, I had documents, papers in suitcases and cartons, that we're carrying about.
Wow.
Yes, documents.
Can I just quickly ask, how did you even come to know about this GEEP? What?
The commercial banks approached the association.
So there was no publicity as such. It wasn't like you saw it on radio.
Well, except for the time you made the news, and we didn't even dwell on it. The media didn't, because it was one of those.
It was when the commercial banks approached the association, and then the national president called me, and the women leader and all of that, and said, come and sit down, come and hear what can we do this, should we do this, that kind of a thing. But along the line, and nobody wants to help me to do the work as a PR, because it's just like a waste of time. It's like a waste of time, So, well, at the end of the day, BOI now has a website that you can easily upload.
But
I have gone to the website. So I'm waiting for you to give me the happy report.
No, I like the website.
Okay.
It's user friendly.
Uh-huh.
It has made it easy. It's just that before we got to this point, it wasn't easy. But now they have a data sheet that you capture all of that information I mentioned earlier on.
Uh-huh.
You put all of that in, and then you just upload. And immediately the ones that are correct, maybe everything is correct, the website accepts and returns the ones that are not correct, and it tells you why. Maybe BVN does not match phone number or something. It tells you what the issues are, which makes it easy for you to tackle. But prior to that, we had to manually send to BOI, and then they update. I don't know.
But I'm also seeing a challenge. If you're talking about these market women who do not have bank accounts, keep their monies in their wrappers and all of that, how do you think they can use the internet?
They can't use it. That is why I'm the only person that does this for the National Association.
I don't envy you right now.
I don't envy myself. Yes, for nothing.
That's a little
for
work.
nothing.
You have to impute all of the information of everyone.
That's
For
a
nothing.
lot of work.
A lot of work for nothing.
It looks like something they ought to set out, sections of the market for, and actually set up something or something.
Which is why the market money agents would have worked. It would have worked. But you can't bring in strangers to make them market money agents. I mean, how efficient will the returns be? Disbursing the money will be very easy if the market money agent does not run away with some monies.
But have you tabled these ideas to BOI, because they're the ones that implemented this?
You don't want to know.
What do we do?
I'm telling you, we've had. I just mentioned. In fact, because as a result of the issues we've had, me, on behalf of the National Association of Nigerian Traders and other associations, came together to form a group, which we call the GEEP Advocacy Platform. There are 30 national associations under that platform that have subgroups, under them. Only NANS has benefited in that group. Only NANS. And we have interfaced with BOI too many times. I can't begin to tell you, how many times we've spoken, that all of their staff. I mean, we keep going back and forth with them. Each time we proffer solutions, we tell them what the challenges are. And then the worst part of the whole thing is that you do not even have anybody to call if you have a problem. So every time...
There's no helpline?
Well, they said there is. At some meeting, they gave us 10 numbers.
Okay.
Most of the time you call, they don't pick. You call, they tell you to call back, or they will call you back, or they'll reach you back, or, it's not there. So what happens now is that when my traders, the market women, have issues, they call Zainab, and then Zainab now has to call somebody there. And it is when they pick and when they answer me.
Okay.
So there are people who are looking up to you for answers
Exactly.
every day. You can't punish them with it because you haven't gotten it yet.
I haven't, exactly, So it's quite a very tedious process, and it shouldn't be.
Challenges of this nature is the reason why people have issues with some of this initiative here, where you have to go through and then you have to walk through some of this. This little time, it takes away from it, no matter how brilliant it is. By the time it's difficult, you have people dropping out, people waiting in line forever to actually get access to this money. It takes away from it. I'm also curious to know, is it a one-off, you get once and that's it, or you can reapply over
What
and
they've
over
said
and
is
over
that
again?
if you can reapply, once you've applied, you've paid back,
you have access to...
Yes, you're supposed to be able to reapply even for a higher fee amount.
Okay, let me just backpedal with you just a little bit. You said something about having to involve the office of the vice president at one particular point in time. What gave room for that, or gave rise to that?
Because it was like we're not getting through to BOI. They were not listening, or they were listening, they couldn't hear, or they were handicapped or something. Now the office of the vice president are expected to oversee what they are doing, the disbursements and all of that. So they now had to help us.
Okay. So they were effective. They helped to.
Well, I want to believe so, because we're making some kind of progress. Slow steps, but we're getting there. At least I just told you now, about the website. We makes it easy, but then the aim is defeated. The financial inclusion part of it is completely lost. These women don't have BVNs. They don't have it, and some of them don't even have banks. You don't even have to go outside of the FCT. Within the FCT, there are some areas that cars don't reach. Bikes don't even reach.
yeah.
You take a car to some place, you get down from the car, take a bike to some place, you come down, and then you
They're
continue.
working.